Howdy cat gang, Jules here in the studio with a Draw With Me nursery rhyme with a really interesting background. Stick around and hear this typically weird English story. If you haven't done so yet and you have a spare pointy finger, consider poking that subscribe button. It helps you find more of my videos and it helps me because the almighty YouTube algorithm thinks that my videos might be worth having a gander at. Oh, fortuitously, that word brings us on to the subject of today's painting. Today I am all about Goosey Goosey Gander. It's an English nursery rhyme believed to date back to the English Civil War in the mid-17th century. And if you are like me and wonder, do you go forward or do you go backwards when you're trying to figure out what that means? Well, you go back. We're talking about the 1650s-ish. What we do know is that Goosey Goosey Gander was first published in 1784. Here's the rhyme, and no, I am not going to sing it for you. You wouldn't thank me for that torture. Goosey, goosey, gander, whither shall I wander? Upstairs and downstairs, and in my lady's chamber. There I met an old man who wouldn't say his prayers. So I took him by his left leg and threw him down the stairs. Nice. There's an alternative. Goose, a gander, where shall I wander? Upstairs and downstairs and in my lady's chamber. There you'll find a cup of sack and a race of ginger. That's a little bit nicer. To make any kind of sense of this rhyme, we must look back at the rule of King Henry VIII, his children Edward VI and Elizabeth I, and then later Oliver Cromwell. You may know that Henry VIII outlawed Catholicism so that he could have all those divorces, a hobby of his. Being a Catholic was strictly forbidden in England, and if practitioners were caught, they were often executed. Not nice. Have you ever heard of priest holes? No, hang on, don't switch off. This probably isn't going in the direction you might imagine. Priest holes were places where Catholic priests could hide if soldiers came looking for them. Priest holes were often hidden in or nearby a family chapel, maybe behind wooden panels or under the floor, or indeed in a lady's chamber, her bedroom. Once discovered, the priest might be thrown down the stairs, and if he wasn't dead by then, they'd find some other way of killing him to death. The old man of the rhyme is thought to be a Catholic priest who wouldn't recite the prayers according to the Anglican prayer book. The reference of left leg is significant. Even today, the Catholics of Northern Ireland and Scotland are often termed as left-footers, a derogatory term which has, according to the Guardian newspaper, military rather than agricultural origins. It was previously believed that Catholics dug with their left foot and Anglicans with their right when performing farming duties, but frankly this makes little sense. The Guardian believes it was a phrase that evolved during the time when the Protestant militia, the Ulster Volunteer Force, was in the process of being absorbed into the British Army in the readiness for World War I. The right foot was seen as the best foot forward, and the term left-footer became a euphemism for someone who was not involved in the struggle for Ulster and therefore a Roman Catholic. Notably, this phrase is still in use today, but I personally would not use it, nor would I suggest you do, should you ever visit Ireland. There is an alternative to the first line. The word gander is commonly used in slang today in the UK, meaning to have a sneaky look, or it can mean a leisurely walk. But interestingly, that does not seem to be what this rhyme is referring to. Back in the 16th century, a goose was a term for a prostitute, and being bitten by a goose was a reference to catching sexually transmitted infection, with visible symptoms. Bleh. So, a goosey gander seems to refer to a sexually promiscuous man who likes to spend his time and money with ladies of the night. This children's nursery rhyme has definite overtones of adult themes. And here I'm going to interrupt myself on this fascinating explanation of Goosey Goosey Gander to tell you this is the moment where I found a problem. That curtain, I haven't drawn the bottom bit in, so therefore it doesn't have a bottom. Oh no! I'm going to have to think of a plan B here. And whilst I do that, I'm just going to fiddle about with a few other things. So could this rhyme be a satirical look at Cromwell's new model army? There is certainly a case for that. So what we are looking at is Goosey Goosey Gander, a promiscuous soldier who spends time with sex workers. Whither shall I wander? Where shall I go? Upstairs and downstairs and in my lady's chamber. A soldier is looking all over the house for the priest, even in the lady's bedroom. There I met an old man. In the lady's bedroom? And it's not her husband? Oh, it must be the priest. Who wouldn't say his prayers. Yeah, see, it's the priest. He wouldn't recite the prayers as per Henry VIII, as Catholic priests recited their prayers in Latin and not English. So I took him by the left leg, reference to being Catholic, and threw him down the stairs. The soldiers treated the priests very badly and probably executed them. I wonder if this rhyme originally was meant as a satire or warning amongst adults, and somehow, somewhere along its timeline, and maybe because of the reference of a nice goosey waterfowl, it ended up entering into child parlance. Well, what can I say? The world is a strange place. Now that we've sorted that out, I'm going to give you a little guided tour around what I'm actually doing. So this carpet, I have always found rugs and carpets quite difficult to paint because they can be quite intricate, especially sort of Turkish rugs and that sort of thing. So just by giving a very pale, very sort of rough idea of what the carpet looks like, it gives it enough of a feel to know what you're looking at, that it's a nice rug in a posh house. And of course the stairs have got carpet, but underneath the stairs is a wooden staircase. A lot of wood in this picture, so I've chosen various different browns to give the effects. And there's also quite a lot of white as well. So there's the white curtains, the white window frame, the goose is white, and the old man is wearing a white nightgown. What to do about this problem of the curtain? I'll go into more detail about this in future weeks, but you can actually erase a little bit of the watercolour paint just by putting some water on it and kind of picking it up with your paintbrush again. Of course, it's not ever going to go back to being white, so you're going to have to think of a bit of a plan B. And that might consist of not making them white curtains. I mean, they are going to be in shadow, aren't they? So I put the dots, the spots from the pattern of the curtain, and then just gave the curtains some shading. And that seemed to do the trick. But the only problem now is the curtain sort of fades into the distance. Whip out the old Tombow, put a line across the bottom. Job done. To give that white nightgown a bit of form, I'm using a blue to show that it's night time, so that you've got those bluey, darker shades giving a shadow. But I don't want it this kind of bright, breezy sea blue. I want there to be a darker colour in there as well. So I'm going to also pick up some of that dark indigo before it dries completely, to sort of spread into what is already there. He also needs some shade on his face, so I'm thinking about where the moonlight might hit that as we're looking at him, right side of his face and not the other side. Then there needs to also be a shadow from the stairs, from the goose, and also from the old man who is about to land on the floor. To give it some contrast, I'm adding a red carpet on the stairs. And although at night time, of course, this would appear to be a very dark sort of grey or dark silvery colour, In reality, I'm just playing with a bit of imagination here and giving it that red colour. And that also signifies that it's a very well-to-do house with its own chapel and therefore priest. And it also signifies the rough treatment that he's about to receive. Light source is very important. We've got the light from the moon coming in the window, but we've also got the light of the candle that the goose is holding, and that is also going to create its own shadows and its own highlights. If you want something to look like wood, give it a bit of grain, and that's what I've done both with my pen and also with the Inktense pencils. You'll see how magically these pencils work. As soon as you put on a little bit of water with your paintbrush, suddenly it all comes to life and is much more saturated. I really love these pencils. And to reiterate what I've just said about the wood, I'm using a very dark indigo blue on some of the nightshirt with a clean brush and clean water. Look how it comes alive. Marvellous. Now for a bit more shade work coming down that stair carpet and underneath where he's going to land. I'm just going to round that up a little bit to show his form. Well, I must say I didn't think that we'd be finding so much out about English history when I chose this subject, but there it is. Thanks for sticking around. You deserve a first prize rosette to hang off your mane. If you want to give me a fluttery moment of loveliness, you could like the video or stick a comment below, but only if it's nice. If you want to leave a rude comment, please do it in Klingon because I can't read that yet. Next week is bonfire night. Yes, more treason and treachery in English history. Until then, I'm off to put the central heating on. Hello, gas bill, here I come. I will see you next week. Nanu nanu.